Ladies and gentlemen, it is finally that time, man. In the previous network beta test in June for Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra, we knew that there were going to be some major changes to some of the characters on the roster. Looking at you, baby mains. And we are here with the version 1.10 Day 0 patch notes now available on the full launch of the game. So let's see who got put 6 feet under and who is about to rise from the ashes. Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra is on its last countdown towards the launch date, and this was all released last night, if I'm not mistaken. On release, the game will have had a balance patch from the network test held in June. This post will give you details on the changes made. The balance changes have two major objectives: to balance outlier heroes and to tweak the game functions with unintended behaviors. Including the hero pick rates and win rates that we posted on our SNS accounts, we have taken into account numerous other key performance indicators. They include, but are not limited to, general hero performances in specific ranks to individual new hero numerics. Not to mention how we plan ahead in tandem with future hero characters to be released. Of course, we understand some participants of the network test may be in disdain due to their favorite characters being nerfed or tweaked. Looking at you, baby mains, but do not worry. Squadra will be implementing periodic balance changes so as to provide a healthy and ever-changing play environment, providing opportunity for every hero character to shine in one way or another throughout the seasons. For now, we hope you join us at launch of Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra, and we await your feedback on the official SNS accounts and official Discord channel. So let's hop right in, man. We're gonna start off with buffs for characters, and I see somebody that I don't know if they really needed to get buffed down here. All right, and we're gonna be starting out with Kid Gohan. So let's see what they did to the boy, man. His stat increase is gonna say base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match offset. Okay. I hope they apply changes like this to more heroes around the board, because I think Frieza definitely needs this. In my opinion, Frieza is still pretty good, but if I'm not mistaken, he has like the lowest HP in the game because of, you know, the way his kit works with Dabura and Zarbon and things like that. So the second is going to say passive friendship boost. During friendship boost, all attack up effect to ally heroes increase from 300 to 400. That's actually a pretty sizable increase. Next is going to be the changes to his rush attack. During exploding rage, rush attack damage is going to be 100 times the 6 rush attacks I think this is, to now 140 times those 6 rush attacks. So that's going to be an extra, what, like 18 extra 180 damage per rush attack chain or something like that. I could be mistaken, but you guys let me know down below in the comments if I'm misinterpreting what they're saying for this rush attack portion specifically for his kit. So skill number 2, Masenkyaku, skill level 1 radius 1.5 to now 1.75 meters, and at level 2 radius is going to go from 1.75 meters to 2 meters. Okay. Skill number 3, leave this to me, energy defense down effect to enemies within barrier increased from 600 to 800, another relatively sizable increase, and energy defense down effect to enemies within the barrier adjusted to persist for 2 seconds after exiting. That's actually a really good change. It makes the effect linger a little bit longer. So super attack exploding rage, cooldown lengthened from 65 to 70 seconds. A little bit of a nerf to kind of offset everything that they buff for him right here. Strike attack up effect to ally heroes increase from 300 to 500. Wow. Gohan is a pretty busted support character now. He was good in the beta, but they're really like tweaking a lot about his kit here. These are a lot of sizable changes. Strike attack up effect to ally heroes shortened from 10 to 8 seconds. Okay, another offset. And strike defense up effect to self increase from 600 to 700. Okay. So the things that they did with exploding rage, they kind of tried to make this a little bit more balanced with kind of like a nerf, then a buff, then a nerf, then a buff. So I like when they do things like this. And everything else up here, I like the HP adjustment. I'm gonna have to see the effect that this has on his rush attack during exploding rage. I'm gonna have to like test that myself to see how that's gonna affect the gameplay loop for Gohan. So the next character up on the list, Dabura actually didn't have a lot of changes. So with Dabura, these are gonna be more buffs, obviously. I think the characters that got buffed were Gohan, Dabura, Trunks, Piccolo, Bojack, and Caulifla, if I'm not mistaken, but we'll get into all of them in a second here. So the first change for Dabura is going to be another base HP stat increase, it seems like, to more easily during the match offset or outset. Skill number 2, Doom's Ray. This is his big, I think this is the big like fire beam if I'm not mistaken. So damage increased or damage decreased 900 plus 450 1000 plus 500. And if you guys don't know, these effects, or the damage increases if you do his teleport, if I'm not mistaken. So the first one is going to be the damage from the teleport, and then I think the second variable is going to be if you just did it like raw or something like that. And these are the different levels for the skill. All right, I'm not gonna lie, just by looking at this, these changes to these numbers actually look pretty drastic to me. Obviously, I think that if they were gonna nerf anything about Dabura, this is the move that could have been nerfed, because he is a character that turns others to stone. So when you have a character that can do something like that, they're gonna have to look at him really closely moving forward, especially as the game develops moving on. And he also got his petrification gauge gain increased as well, and these are the numbers right here. And with his super attack Evil Blast, petrification gauge gain increased from 40 to 50. So while Dabura may not have had as much changes as Gohan, who I think needed a decent amount of changes, the changes that they did make to Dabura, I think, at least until I play this character myself and I can see firsthand, they do look relatively significant. So the next character that I feel like could have used maybe the same amount of changes as Dabura is Trunks. So all they really did with Trunks is gave him that same base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match in game. Oh, this one's actually during the match in game, not during the match outset, like Dabura and Gohan up here. And all ally attack up when transformed increased from 120 to 130%. So they tried to be relatively conservative with Trunks, which I understand, because I feel like he's the character, at least right now, with the most chase down and like secure that kill potential in the game, just because of how his kit works. So next is gonna be Piccolo. It looks like all they did for Piccolo was give him a lot of changes actually to Light Grenade, which is gonna be a skill 1. Energy Blast range increase from 9, 16 to 30 meters, and these are, you know, all 3 levels for his Light Grenade, to 12, 18, and 30. So they really just changed level 1 and level 2. Energy Blast speed decreased from 37 to 70 to 136 meters per second to 30, 45, and 75 meters per second. So this is actually, for level 2 and level 3 at least, they really chopped this number down a lot. They almost halved it at level 3, which is kind of crazy. So next is going to be Energy Blast damage to at all levels unified, 2500, 3500, 4000 to now 2520. Wow, okay. So at skill level 2, his super explosion damage is going to be decreased from 380 and 1020 to 280 and 840. A decent little decrease right there. Distance at which damage increases per skill level adjusted from 7.4 to 14 to 27.2 meters to now 9.9, 9.25, and 7.95 meters. All right, so next is gonna be Frieza. This is another character that initially I thought that they would kind of tweak him in the same way that they did Gohan, because in my opinion, maybe I just didn't play enough with Frieza, but I feel like there's a couple of things that they could have looked a little bit more in depth in with him. And it looks like this first change right here, like I said at the beginning, I was hoping that they kind of gave this HP adjustment to some of these characters that really needed it, like Frieza, and so far they have to every single character that we looked at except for Piccolo. So base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match in game, and super attack Supernova cooldown shortened from 60 to 50 seconds. I like this. I like this cooldown getting shortened, because this game being chaotic is what it's all about, man. So if you can get that one extra super attack per game with Frieza, that can really be a make or break right there. His kit is a little bit more difficult to use than other characters like Goku or Piccolo, or even Trunks or Bojack or somebody like that. So the fact that he's able to use, you know, his big massive super attack a little bit more often, I feel like that's really good for him and people that, you know, this is their favorite character, so they just want to pick up and play with him without having to learn all the particulars of his summons and things like that. So next is gonna be full power Bojack. Really, I want to see what they did with Bojack, man, because this is also a very tricky character, I feel like, to kind of buff. I really don't know why they buffed him and Dabura, like I said earlier, but let's see what they did. So Bojack is also going to get one of those HP adjustments to be more easily increased during the match in game. Okay, all attack up when transformed increased from 125% to 130%. All right, so a little bit more damage. I'm not really too mad at that. All right, so the next change is gonna be to his passive, Galactic Assassin. What did they do to the homies, man? Subordinates will now appear in a fixed order. Okay, stack-based scaling of enhanced follow-up attacks removed for consistency. This is something that I'm gonna, well, both of these changes actually, I'm gonna have to see how they affect the gameplay loop for Bojack. Maybe I'll ask the homie Vocal Pineapple, because he plays Bojack a lot more than me. This is like one of his mains. Baby is his main so far, and then, you know, when he goes DPS, he plays Bojack. So I'll ask him how he feels about this stuff. So the last character that was quote unquote buffed is gonna be Caulifla. All attack up when transform increased from 120% to 100, or 125%, excuse me, to 130%. Caulifla, Trunks, they were really conservative on any changes for these characters. I feel like Caulifla, they really needed to be, because she was already super good before. She has certain things in her kit that probably did not need to be messed with unless they did a lot of testing. So we'll probably see how this first season goes, and then maybe they'll come back to Caulifla and tweak things a little bit more for her. Trunks as well. I feel like Trunks is in a good spot. Out of all of these characters up here, the only ones that I honestly feel like needed the buffs were Gohan, sure, Piccolo, I guess, even though he's already really good as well, and Frieza. I feel like Bojack, Caulifla, Dabura, and, you know, since they were really conservative on Trunks, I'll throw him in there as well. They didn't necessarily need buffs. I guess if you want to kind of, it depends on how good the newer characters are. If you wanted to kind of make sure that they can hang with the new meta that's about to arrive, maybe I can see what you're going for. But especially Dabura and Bojack, I don't feel like they needed any changes at all. But again, I'm not a dev, I could be wrong. Maybe they saw something that I didn't see. Now we're on to the nerfs, man. Yo, baby mains, I'm sorry, man. I'm gonna make sure I put some flowers on the grave for you, man. What did they do to the boy? I like playing this character a lot too. One of my favorite characters in the game, so I'm not necessarily happy that he got nerfed, but for the health of the game, this had to happen. So skill 2, energy explosion. Movement speed during activation decreased from 100% to 75%. Yeah, bro, you can just zip all across the screen while you're spraying this attack. So I guess I can see why they did that. The damage was also decreased. Initial shockwave was 250 and the aftershock was 450. Initial shockwave has been decreased to 200 and aftershock to 400. All right, and the cooldown was lengthened from 15 seconds to 18 seconds. I agree with all of this. Am I wrong for saying that Baby was the best character in the game in the last network beta test? I think it was pretty apparent. I guess you could argue maybe if you wanted to, even though her utility was nowhere near as good as Baby's, I guess you could argue 18, because she was just, anytime you saw an 18 on the other team, and I would say 18 in Majin Buu was like, seeing that on the other team was just dastardly, man. But if you had a Baby, say if you had a Baby, and I would even throw Bojack in there. If you had a Baby and a Bojack, you would probably be all right. Or even Baby and 18. That is not what you want to see on the opponent's team, man. That's why both of these characters are getting nerfed. All right, sorry about that. Somebody called me every time I start recording. So let's move on to skill 3, the possession for the allies. This right here, I can understand them tweaking this to this. If you apply it right, is for you and your homie are just unkillable. So self HP recovery over time increased from 1 to 0.75 seconds. Possession duration time shortened from 8 to 6 seconds. That's a necessary change right there. I don't blame them for changing that. Still life effect to possession target decreased from 50% to 25%. Hey, baby mains out there, look, do you see what's in your hand right now? That's your balls, man. They just chopped them off. So super attack revenge blast. Damage per shockwave decreased. Damage increased for each hit. 3,000, 3,600, 4,200, 4,800, now to 2,000, 2,800, 3,600, and 4,400. And recovered HP for each hero hit unified. Additional HP recovered per enemy hero hit from 50, 60, 70, 80%, now to 20%. I think Baby is a necessary evil for this game. There definitely needs to be he definitely needs to have a very unique kit like this to be true to himself and to be just, you know, a fan favorite character to play in this game. But they definitely needed to adjust pretty much his whole kit. I'm not mad that they did this. It's just a little sad to see him go out like this so early in the game's life. Now somewhere down the line, when we start getting more just busted heroes that they're gonna have to more or less leave busted, like Ultra Instinct Goku, Beast Gohan, any type of Super Saiyan 4, any fusions, those characters are gonna have to be busted. And I think once we get to that point in the game's lifespan, we can start talking about buffing Baby again. But as of right now, in the early days of this game, we gotta neuter him a little bit. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry, Fabian. It had to be done. So now let's move on to Android 18. Stats base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match outset. Passive assault rain. Rush attack no longer provides stacks. Okay, so I'm not gonna say we're neutering 18 yet. Let's just keep going. Skill 3, a cell dash. Damage decreased from 720, 800, and 960 to 680, 680, and oh my god. While reactivating, if an enemy is KO'd by your final cell dash, the number of possible reactivations will now increase. Okay. Super attack, Heartbreaker. Cooldown lengthened from 80 seconds to 90 seconds. 18 has one of the most annoying super attacks in the game, so while I'm not mad at this cooldown being increased, this is another character. It's just kind of sad. Matter of fact, it's not. 18 is super annoying. It's not sad to see her go out like this. What am I talking about? It's sad to see baby go out like this. 18, they can keep chopping her up, man, for all I care. Zamasu. This is the one character in the game where they had to adjust him, bro. Zamasu was freaking crazy in both betas. Zamasu might, when it comes to best characters in the game, I think the only character, actually no, there's two characters that I think were in that tier with baby. It's definitely Zamasu, and I think the other one is probably Cooler. So while it doesn't seem like they did a lot to him, let's go ahead and hop right in. So base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match outset, and super attack Project Zero Mortals cooldown lengthening from 80 to 90 seconds, and skill level 3 and super attack movement speed down effect decreased from 80% to 70%. They didn't do a lot with Zamasu. They didn't cut his balls off like they did with baby, or even 18 got some pretty significant changes. Zamasu, I definitely feel like they could have tweaked a little bit more. Like, I wouldn't have been upset if I saw his skill number, I don't know if it's skill 1 or skill 2, the one that he can just back up and hit you with those like light grenades and slow you down. If they adjusted that a little bit, I wouldn't have been upset. But the super attack getting a cooldown lengthened and the movement speed down effect being decreased from 80% to 70%, that's a good start. I feel like they'll continue nerfing Zamasu bit by bit until he's in a range where they want him to be. But him not getting the baby or the 18 treatment, I'm not mad, but I expected a little bit more. So now Majin Buu. No skill effects to enemies on hit removed. I'm not a Majin Buu player. Somebody's gonna have to explain this one to me down below in the comments. I'm not really too sure what this means for Majin Buu. Is this like a heavy change for him? A Majin Buu player down below in the comments, let me know. All right, so let's move on to Cooler. His stat changes. HP increased from 11,200 and 22,725 to 12,800 and 25,971. Base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match outset. All attack up when transformed increased from 125% to 130%. Super attack Atomic Supernova cooldown lengthened by 5 seconds from 65 to 70, and damage upon explosion decreased by 500 from 2,000 to 1,500. All right. Pretty baseline changes for Cooler, in my opinion. Just like with Zamasu, I feel like they could have looked at his skill 1 and skill 2 a little bit more in depth, but this is probably another one of those characters that they're monitoring really closely. I feel like maybe his pick rate isn't too high, which is why they didn't go too crazy on him, but his win rate is probably a little bit higher than most. So maybe they're trying to do this little balancing act with characters like Cooler. And Zamasu, I'm not sure, because I know his pick rate is high and I'm pretty sure his win rate is probably high as well. So why they didn't really go too crazy on him, I'm not sure. Maybe in the last beta, baby was getting picked a little bit more than Zamasu, which is why they gave him this, you know, all around treatment right here and didn't do that to Zamasu. But again, Cooler is one of those characters where I felt like they probably would have went a little bit more crazy on him, and they didn't, which is good, I guess. We don't want all these characters getting nerfed into the ground on day 0, so we'll just see how the game evolves over time. So last in the nerf category is gonna be Krillin. Oh my god, what did they do to my boy, man? I thought he would fly under the radar. I guess not. Base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match outset. Skill number 1, Energy Mine. This was my move right here. What did they do to it, man? Cooldown lengthened by 1 second. Okay, that might not seem like a lot, but that 1 second increase in cooldown can kind of change a character's gameplay loop a lot. Energy Blast Explosion slash secondary explosion damage decreased. Regular was 1260, 1400, and 1680. Secondary is going to be 1440, 1600, and 1920. Now regular is going to be 1080, 1200, and 1440, and secondary is going to be 1260, 1400, and 1680. Marked effect time shortened from 7.5 seconds to 5 seconds. That marked effect time was actually kind of long, so I kind of expected that they would do something like this. but a 1.5 second decrease, maybe that won't. I feel like this is still pretty significant. We'll have to test and see if this really affects his gameplay loop that much. So skill number 3, scattering energy waves. This is one of my favorite attacks in the game. Homing energy blast damage increased from 200 to 250. Krillin's gonna be hitting a lot harder now. Super attack destructo. This cooldown lengthened from 50 seconds to 70 seconds. Oh my god. This is the biggest cooldown increase that we've seen so far, a whole 20 seconds. That's even more than 18's. 18's was 10 seconds, Krillin's is 20. Jesus. They getting my boy out of here. Destructo Disc is a really devastating super attack, so maybe this was just wiping people way too much, way more than they wanted it to. All right, so now let's move on to the adjustments tab. Super Saiyan Goku got some adjustments. I was hoping for this. Okay, maybe I wasn't really hoping for a Spirit Bomb cooldown increase, but it looks like that's what we got. But he also got an attack up increase when transformed from 125% to 130%. So we got a little bit of a buff, but he also got a little bit of a nerf as well with the cooldown for his super attack. So Super Saiyan Vegeta got a little bit of a stat increase as well. Base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match in game. All attack up when transformed increased from 125% to 130%. Also got a cooldown lengthened on his super attack. Big Bang attack cooldown lengthened from 80 seconds to 90 seconds now. All right, so they're increasing a lot of these more, I guess, devastating super attack cooldowns, which I guess that 20, bro, I'm still stuck on that 20-second increase for Krillin, man. They really put my boy in the dirt with that. All right, so Oob got a little bit of an increase to his stats as well. Base HP adjusted to increase more easily during the match in game. Now for the battle system adjustments, these are going to be our NPCs that we interact with on the map. Nappa, rush attack damage boost effect upon KO increased from 20 to 30%. So we get a little bit more of a boost when we defeat Nappa. A little bit more of a boost when we defeat 16. Movement speed boost effect buff upon KO increased from 10% to 15%. Jocko, skill damage dealt boost effect buff applied upon KO increased by 10% from 10 to 20. Now for the God of Destructions. Gods of Destructions will now prioritize heroes rather than accompanying characters such as Dodoria and Zarbon. I didn't even know that that was a... I'm guessing that was something that maybe wasn't working as intended, and that was kind of something that you could take advantage of really if you were playing a character like Frieza or maybe even like Bojack or something like that. So that's why they took this out, I'm assuming. A timer has been added near the Gods of Destruction to indicate the time until Zeno arrives. That is a quality of life update right there. We need a little bit more of those. Another quality of life update that I want to see in this game: make the lobby more like DBD or Dead by Daylight if you guys have never played that game before, where on the you know, the game menu where you like invite your friends and things like that, when they join your lobby, you should be able to see them on the screen. You should be able to invite them from the main menu screen as well without having to go to a whole nother screen. You should be able to just click like a plus sign or something in the lobby, just go to your friends list from there, click add or click a plus sign on their name, and then boom. So next is going to be the helpers. Right, similar to skills, activation direction can now be chosen with directional input. Okay. Helper defense buff cooldown shortened from 60 seconds to 30 seconds. Ooh, that is, ooh, okay. Gekishin High cooldown reduction rate increased from 25% to 50%. Okay. Lightning Swift damage decreased from 1,000 to 800. All right, that's not too drastic, I guess. Super Snowball, all attack up per use increased from 50 to 75. And guys, that is gonna do it for all of the nerfs, buffs, and adjustments to NPCs on the map for patch 1 of Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra. Let me know if your main got affected down below in the comments. These are some pretty drastic changes, if I do say so myself. I think just on paper right now, I think the most drastic changes are definitely to Baby and 18. I was expecting a little bit more for Zamasu and Cooler, but I mean, it is what it is, I guess. Krillin getting touched this much, pause, is a little surprising. His pick rate, I know, was probably high. I don't know where his pick rate is in regards to somebody like Majin Buu. Those were definitely the two most popular tech characters to play in the game during the beta. Krillin, since he got done this dirty, was probably a little bit more than Majin Buu. I think Majin Buu may be a little bit more difficult to play than Krillin, just from my experience. I don't know what their difficulty rating is in game, but let me know if your main got just fondled in these nerfs or buffs down below in the comments. If your main got buffed, I know you're happy right now. If your main got nerfed, if you were a Baby main or an 18 main or even a Krillin main, You might be shedding some tears right now. But anyways, fellas, that is going to do it for a full read and breakdown of the patch notes for version 1.10 of Dragon Ball Gekishin Squadra. Let me know what you think down below in the comments. Have a great day. And I'm going to go play the game some. I'll see you all in the next one. Peace out, my boys.